Okay, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I feel like I've been doing a lot of vlogs recently, so I thought that I'd do something different and I'd do a Q&A. So today we're going to be answering the questions that I get a lot surrounding my academic career transition to actual career and how I managed to switch from biomed to accounting. So I know a lot of people are curious. I always get messages, I get DMs from you guys all the time asking how I did it, what I did, if I did anything crazy or like extra. Spoiler, I did not. And yeah, I'll be answering everything in this video. The first question that I get here and there is, why did I decide to switch from biomed to corporate? And to be honest with you, I already knew from the get-go I did not want to do like lab work or research because I hated it. Like, I've never been one to like lab work and research and, you know, pipetting and all that stuff. I never liked it. Even back in secondary when everyone would be excited when class, like science lessons, would have an experiment, I would be like, oh, okay, that's not really tickling my fancy. So I already knew, like, with biomed, to be honest, most people will either go into medicine or they will either go into research, and I didn't want to go into medicine. I did at one point, which is why I went down the biomed route actually, but I realised towards the end of second year and the start of third year I knew I didn't want to do medicine anymore. And so I was like, you know what, I want to do the corporate life thing, you know, like I see it on TikTok, the corporate, what is it, hashtag corporate girly. And I thought, you know what, I just want to do the whole 9 to 5, have my weekends off kind of thing. So that's when I knew, like, I wanted to go from biomed to corporate. So another thing that I always get asked is, how did I tailor my CV to corporate working, basically? So how did I go from being STEM to appealing to the corporate mind, let's say? And to be honest, like, I didn't do anything crazy or anything extra. I've always believed in like picking up all these opportunities that you can, and they're everywhere, and not really saying no to many things. So I dabbled in a lot of stuff, not necessarily under STEM, let's say. To be fair, I don't think I did that many things within STEM. Like, my degree was pretty much it. Obviously back in the day when I wanted to go into medicine, I'd go to those like talks at unis, I'd do all those extracurricular like careers fairs, but like for STEM and whatnot. But then I was like, throughout like my uni degree, obviously I was a COVID batch, so first year was completely online. I didn't have that many opportunities, but I did dabble in like more creative stuff, or like, let's say, humanities or social sciences, because that's actually where my interests lie. Like, I enjoyed biology and whatnot, but I'm also like, I like the whole artsy creative side, hence why I'm on social media. But yeah, so like, I had an opportunity to work with the V&A, so the Victoria and Albert Museum, and they were opening up like a new museum in East London, so I got involved with that. To be honest, like, on the top of my head, I can't remember many things I did, but I did dabble in a lot of things. So I did a lot of community work, I did a lot of social media, which helps because working with businesses and you know, doing these brand collaborations helped me as a person see the other side to brand work. And, you know, seeing how companies work, charities as well. I've worked with charities. And I did get offered, I did do an internship after I graduated, which is a bit late because I'll get onto that. Did an internship with Amazon for the operation side, and to be fair, that was mainly because, again, like, it was just an opportunity that came up and I just took it. Not necessarily looking out for it or looking for it, let's say, but yeah, everything for the experience. I think that's a good mindset to have. Just do things for the experience, because you never know when you actually need that kind of experience, you know, and the things you learn. Like, companies nowadays, they just care about transferable skills, and they're called transferable skills because you can pretty much find them anywhere. You can develop them and hone that skill anywhere, but it's also used everywhere. So yeah, in terms of building your CV, or like having or honing the skills to work in a corporate job, just take all the opportunities. You can always tailor all your skills and experiences to fit the need of whatever you're doing. So this kind of leads on to my next question, where people asked, did I do anything extra like work experience or internships to fit that whole corporate niche, let's say? And so the short answer is no. But again, because everything contains like transferable skills, all the experiences that I did do, all the skills that I picked up, I could apply them in a corporate life, or corporate working space. So that helped as well, of course. And then now more towards finding a corporate job. How do I apply for corporate roles? So I realised pretty late, so at the start of third year, that I needed some, or I thought I needed some experience in like internships or like applying for things. So when I started applying at the start of third year, I realised a lot of the requirements, sometimes it depends, but it'll be like, in your penultimate year of uni, or you're in a placement year or something. So that's more towards like short-term 1-year placements or 1-year working. But the simple answer is I literally went on Google and I typed up, graduate corporate job. Literally graduate corporate job, and whatever came up, I'd be applying to all of it. Mind you, I was pretty fresh into the corporate world. Obviously, I've been in STEM for so long. Half the jobs I didn't know, like even finance and accounting, I didn't really know the definitions. I saw audit come up quite a few times, and I think with me, I'm not that finance minded, so I didn't really know like what everything meant. Even like googling what does this mean, I was still kind of stuck. But I applied to everything, literally everything. It got to the point where I genuinely did not know I forgot what I was applying for, and because everything was so rushed, because I realised so late, I was not organised either. So that's a tip from me, like make sure when you're applying for graduate roles you keep a spreadsheet, or however you want to organise your applications, but make sure you note down the organisation that you applied for, the role that you're applying for, what their requirements are, and honestly, yeah, it seems so simple, but I didn't even do it, so that says a lot. So I'm sure most of you know that when you apply for these kind of roles, they ask you to fill out a form. Usually the requirement is a minimum 2-1 or predicted 2-1 in your degree, and again, they're not really fussed in what degree you have. Of course, like there are certain roles that require you to have a specific degree, but if you don't have the degree, just don't apply for it. Or even if you don't have the degree, just apply for it and see what happens. The worst they can do is say no and just reject you, and then you just move on to the next one. Another question I get a lot is, how did I prepare for these roles? Of course, with these roles you fill out the form, and then of course if you're successful, that's the first stage. They will email you and they'll tell you usually either you have an interview or you have to do the aptitude test. Of course, in each organisation it's slightly different, but overall it's mainly those two. I did Google generic interview questions, and just have answers ready at the top of your head. Even if you don't you don't need to memorise a whole paragraph, just have like bullet points of things you want to talk about or things that you can always bring up. So for me, I think it was always like karate, my small business. I always bring those up because you can tailor those two experiences in any way, and it always fits one way or another. And in terms of the aptitude test, I didn't practice those, or I didn't prepare for those, because I personally don't think you can. It's one of those things where of course practice will help, but you either get it or you don't. Alhamdulillah, for me, when I was younger, my mum she prepped us for the 11 plus exams, so if you practice for those, you know that they're very similar to the aptitude test, obviously on a lesser scale because you're doing that as a primary school child. So yeah, and I think with the whole with the whole wanting to get into medicine, you had to prepare for UCAT or BMAT, and so I sat the UCAT, and that is basically aptitude testing, so I had practice with that. But overall, I'm sure there are courses online or practice papers or practice questions online that you can use to prepare for those type of aptitude tests. Coming back from this, my main tips and tricks would be, one, is to stay organised. I can't emphasise that enough, even though I did not do that, but I'm telling you as someone who's gone through the process, and you know, if I were to advise someone, I would say 100% stay organised. When I got an interview for the place that I work at now, the interviewer she asked me why I applied for the role that I did, and I didn't know I did. So luckily, alhamdulillah, like I was able to think on the spot to answer that question. And I guess she liked me because I got the job. But yeah, like honestly, like knowing the organisation that you work in, knowing the role that you applied for, just remember those would be very helpful. My other tip would be, so when you've gotten to the interview stage, it's very important to know the values of the company that you're applying for. So prior to your interview and whatnot, just quickly go on the website, and they usually have these core values, or like, you know, their manifesto, or which industries they work in. So having that knowledge before entering your interview would always be helpful, because you know what to talk about, and that way you can always say, oh, you know, I love company X because they value diversity or something, you know, like just not waffling, but yeah, just having that at your fingertips. And my final tip would be to apply to everything. The more you apply for, obviously, the higher chance that you will get a yes along the lines, and also it gets to the point where you do see a couple of no's being said to you, it doesn't hurt as bad, and you don't take it as personally, because you know, okay, on to the next one. Because in these cases, you need to remember that it's not personal, and employees want to find the perfect person who they feel like is best for their company and their firm. So just having that, you know, shrug it off, brush it off type of mentality is kind of good as well, so that, you know, you don't lose motivation, you can keep persevering, you know, buzzwords like that. But yeah, that's all from me. Let me know in the comments if, you know, these tips and tricks were helpful, and if you would like more of these in the future. Bye!